The lonely stranger. The night was cold and the streets were almost empty. A thin fog covered the road, making every shadow look bigger and darker. In that silence, footsteps echoed. They were slow, weak, almost trembling. It was the sound of someone who carried too much pain. She was a stranger in this world. Her figure was tall but fragile. Her face was hidden under a long hood, and only her glowing eyes could be seen in the dark. Those eyes were not like human eyes. They carried both beauty and sadness, like two stars lost in the wrong sky. She walked without direction, as if she did not belong anywhere. People who noticed her quickly turned away. Some whispered, some stared in fear. Nobody came close. She was different, and difference always made humans afraid. The alien woman had nothing. No family, no home, no food. Her body was tired, her stomach empty. Every step was heavy, but she kept moving. Stopping meant giving up, and she had not given up yet, though her hope was almost gone. Sometimes she passed bright windows of houses. Inside, families laughed, children played, and warm light filled the rooms. She stopped and looked at them from far away. Her heart ached. She wanted that warmth, that sense of belonging. But it was not for her. She was only a shadow outside their world. Days turned into nights, nights into days. The alien woman wandered like a ghost. She slept in abandoned places, under bridges, behind old buildings, in empty barns. The world was not kind to strangers, and she was the strangest of them all. Everywhere she went, she felt eyes following her. People feared what they did not understand. Once a group of boys threw stones at her when she passed. She did not fight back. She only covered her head and walked away. She had no strength left for anger. Her soul was tired. But the real danger was not the people. It was hunger, is without. Food made her weaker. Her legs shook. Her breath grew shallow. She searched garbage bins, sometimes finding scraps of bread or spoiled fruit. Each bite was bitter, but it kept her alive for one more day. Yet inside her heart, there was a deeper hunger. A hunger not for food, but for kindness, for a hand that would not push her away, for a voice that would not scream at her. She longed for compassion, but she began to believe it did not exist on this planet. One evening, as the sun was setting, she reached the edge of a small town. The sky was painted with orange and red, but to her, it felt heavy and sad. She sat on a stone near the road, her hood falling back a little. The fading light revealed part of her face, skin too pale, eyes too bright, features too sharp to be human. A passing woman gasped and quickly pulled her child away. The alien woman lowered her head in shame. She whispered to herself, though no one could hear, "Maybe I was not meant to live here. Maybe I was not meant to live anywhere." Her voice broke and a single tear rolled down her cheek. It shone like silver in the dying light, then disappeared into the dust. The night grew colder, and she wrapped her arms around herself. Her body was shaking, her stomach empty again. She thought of her home, far away in the stars, a home that no longer existed, a family that was gone forever. She was truly alone in the universe. And yet, destiny was waiting. Unknown to her, a pair of human eyes had been watching from a distance, not with fear, not with hate, but with curiosity, and perhaps with compassion. The stranger did not know it yet, but her story was about to change. The unexpected meeting. The night was almost silent, except for the soft rustle of leaves and the whisper of the cold wind. The alien woman sat near the edge of the small town, weak and hopeless. Her glowing eyes stared at the ground, heavy with sadness. She did not notice that someone was watching her. Not far away, a young man named Daniel was walking home from work. He was tired, but his eyes caught something unusual near the road. At first he thought it was just a shadow, but then he saw the figure more clearly. The hooded woman sitting alone, trembling as if the night itself was against her. Daniel slowed his steps. Most people in the town had already heard strange rumors. They spoke of a woman with shining eyes who wandered at night. Some said she was a ghost, others believed she was dangerous. Children were warned not to go near her. But Daniel did not feel fear, he felt something else, curiosity mixed with quiet concern. He looked closer. Her hands were thin, almost skeletal, and her shoulders shook as though she had been crying. His heart tightened. This was not the picture of a monster. This was the picture of someone broken, someone lost. Taking a deep breath, Daniel stepped forward. The alien woman heard the sound of boots against the gravel and stiffened. Her body tensed, ready to run. She had learned not to trust humans. They always shouted, threw stones, or slammed doors in her face. Her instinct was to flee into the darkness. But before she could stand, Daniel spoke. His voice was gentle, careful, like one would speak to a frightened bird. "Are you all right?" The word surprised her. No one had ever asked her that before. She kept her head low, silent, her hood still hiding most of her face. Daniel waited. Then, slowly, he crouched a little, lowering himself to her level. In his hand, he carried a small paper bag. Inside was a sandwich he had saved from his lunch. He placed the bag on the ground, just within her reach, and stepped back. "You look hungry," he said softly. "It's not much, but you can take it." Her glowing eyes lifted slightly, meeting his for the first time. Suspicion filled her heart. Why would a human offer her food? Was it a trick? But the smell of bread reached her nose, warm and real. Her stomach twisted with hunger. She had not eaten in days. Slowly, with trembling fingers, she pulled the bag closer. Her eyes stayed locked on Daniel, waiting for him to attack or laugh, but he only stood quietly, watching with kindness. She opened the bag, and when she saw the sandwich, a wave of relief and disbelief washed over her. Her lips trembled as she took a small bite. The bread was soft, the taste simple, but to her it was like a feast. For the first time in many nights, she felt life returning to her body. Daniel gave a small smile. "See? Nothing bad, just food." The alien woman lowered her eyes again, still unsure if she should trust him. Her voice came out weak, broken, as if speaking caused her pain. "Why? Why help me?" Daniel tilted his head, surprised by the question. "Because you needed it. That's all." No one had ever given her such a simple answer. Compassion. It was something she thought did not exist here. Her throat tightened as emotion rose inside her. She wanted to speak more, but fear held her back. Daniel did not push. He sensed her hesitation. Instead, he sat on a stone nearby, leaving space between them. They both stayed in silence for a while. The wind blew gently, carrying with it the sound of crickets in the grass. For the first time in a long time, she did not feel completely alone. As the moon rose higher, the alien woman finished the sandwich slowly, as if afraid it might disappear. Daniel finally stood. "I should go," he said quietly. "But if you're here in tomorrow, maybe I can bring more." Her eyes widened. No one had ever promised to come back. No one had ever wanted to. She said nothing, but a faint light returned to her face, a flicker of something she thought she had lost forever: hope. Daniel gave her a small nod, then walked away into the night. She watched him until he disappeared. For the first time, the alien woman whispered to herself, not in despair, but in wonder. Why? Is he different? The lonely stranger had met her first human, and the story of her life was about to change forever. The next evening came with heavy clouds. The sky looked darker than usual, and the air smelled of rain. The alien woman sat at the same place near the road where she had met the kind human. Her body was weak, but inside her chest, a strange new feeling had grown: expectation. She did not know if he would return, but a part of her wanted to believe. Her glowing eyes searched the road again and again. Minutes passed. The silence was broken only by the call of nightbirds. She almost gave up when footsteps echoed in the distance. Her heart jumped. Daniel appeared, carrying a small bag. He walked carefully, as if he did not want to startle her. When his eyes met hers, he gave a gentle nod, like they were already old friends. "I brought something warm today," he said, sitting on a stone a few feet away. From the bag, he pulled out a container of soup and some bread. The steam rose into the cold air, carrying the smell of comfort. The alien woman hesitated, but hunger pressed against her chest again. Slowly, she reached out, her hands trembling. She tasted the soup. The warmth spread through her, chasing away the chill of the night. Her lips moved slightly. It was not a smile, but it was the closest thing to it in years. Daniel noticed. "Better?" She gave a small nod. For a while, they sat in silence, broken only by the sound of her eating. But Daniel's eyes were filled with questions. He wanted to know who she was, why she looked so different, and why she was all alone. Still, he held back. He did not want to scare her away. At last, she looked at him, her voice soft and heavy with sadness. "You are not afraid of me?" Daniel shook his head. "No. Should I be?" Her eyes glowed brighter, reflecting pain. "Humans, they always fear. They throw stones, they scream, they call me monster." "You're not a monster," Daniel said firmly. Her hands shook as she placed the empty container aside. For a moment she closed her eyes, as if deciding whether to reveal the truth or keep it hidden forever. Then she pulled back her hood. The moonlight fell across her face. Her skin was pale with a faint shimmer, almost like silver. Her eyes were large, glowing softly, filled with sorrow. The shape of her features was sharp, elegant, but clearly not human. She was beautiful in a way that felt alien, strange, yet unforgettable. Daniel stared, not with fear, but with quiet wonder. He whispered, "You're not from here." Her voice trembled. "No, I am not. My home, far away, beyond your sky. My people, they left me. After the fire destroyed our world, they ran. I was too weak. They did not wait." Her chest rose and fell as she struggled to keep her voice steady. "I had nothing. I have nothing." The words fell heavy in the cold night. Daniel felt his heart twist. He had heard stories of loneliness, but nothing compared to the emptiness in her tone. This was more than hunger or cold. This was the pain of being cut away from everything one loves. "Your world is gone?" he asked gently. Tears shimmered in her glowing eyes. "Yes, I saw the flames. I heard the screams. And then, silence. I was left here, alone." Daniel looked at her for a long moment. Any other person would have run by now. But he could not move. He felt the weight of her pain pressing into him, and something deep inside whispered that he could not turn away. "I'm sorry," he said softly, "and I can't imagine that pain, but you're not nothing, you're still here." The alien woman's eyes widened slightly. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not since her people were gone. His words felt like a spark in the middle of her endless darkness. "Why do you speak kindly?" she whispered. Daniel smiled faintly. "Because everyone deserves kindness, even strangers, even aliens." For the first time in years, a small laugh escaped her lips, weak, uncertain, but real. It shocked even her. The sound felt strange, as if she had forgotten what laughter was. She looked at Daniel again, her voice softer now. "My name. You should know my name." Daniel leaned forward, curious. She hesitated, then said it slowly, the sound like music from another world. "Ilara." Daniel repeated it carefully with respect. "Ilara." Her glowing eyes softened. In that moment, she felt something she had not felt since her home was destroyed. She felt seen. She felt heard. She was no longer just a shadow wandering the earth. She was Ilara. And though the night around them was dark, for her, a tiny light had returned. The bond of compassion, the days slowly turned into weeks. Each evening, Daniel returned to the quiet place near the road, and each evening, Ilara was there waiting. At first, she sat in silence, afraid to trust, but little by little, her walls began to fall. The warmth of his presence melted the ice around her heart. Daniel always brought something simple: bread, soup, or tea in a flask. Sometimes he brought books, sometimes a blanket. He never came empty-handed, but more than food or gifts, he brought something Ilara had not known since her world was destroyed: companionship. He spoke about his life. His parents were gone. His small job at the workshop kept him busy, and his days were ordinary. He told her about the little things humans worried about: broken machines, unpaid bills, and noisy neighbors. Ilara listened quietly. To her, even these small struggles sounded precious. They were pieces of a life she had lost long ago. In return, she shared small pieces of herself. She told him how the stars looked from her world, bigger, brighter, filling the sky like oceans of light. She told him about the songs her people used to sing, soft notes that floated in the air like feathers. Sometimes, when the night was still, she hummed a broken tune. Daniel listened in silence, moved by a beauty he could not explain. But even as she grew closer to him, fear never fully left her. She stayed hidden from the world, meeting him only under the cover of darkness. She knew humans feared what they did not understand, and she could not risk being seen. One night, Daniel brought a book with simple drawings inside. He placed it in her hands. "It's for children," he said with a small smile. "Easy words, easy pictures. You can practice our language with it." Ilara opened the book carefully, her glowing eyes moving across the pages. She traced her finger over the drawings: a tree, a bird, a river. Slowly, with a shaky voice, she began to repeat the words: Her accent was strange, her tone uneven, but Daniel encouraged her. "That's it," he said gently. "You're learning." Elara looked at him, her lips curving into something rare, a smile. "You teach me." "Why?" Daniel shrugged. "Because I want you to feel less alone." The word struck her heart. For years, she had been a shadow, unwanted, unseen. Now, this one human treated her like she mattered. The bond between them grew stronger each day, like a fragile thread weaving two broken souls together. But outside their small circle, whispers began to spread. People in the town noticed Daniel's strange absences. Some said he was meeting someone in secret. Others said they had seen him with a figure that did not look human. Fear turned to gossip, and gossip grew sharper with every passing day. One evening, as Elara and Daniel sat by the road, a sound broke their peace. The rustle of footsteps too many to ignore. Daniel turned quickly. A group of townspeople was walking not far away, their eyes sharp, their voices low. "Stay still," Daniel whispered. Elara's heart raced. If they saw her face, if they saw her eyes, everything would be over. She pulled her hood tighter and lowered her head. The group passed, but not without suspicion. One of them muttered, "I swear I saw her, the glowing-eyed woman." They moved on, but the danger had revealed itself. Elara looked at Daniel, her voice trembling. "They will find me. They will not stop." Daniel placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "I won't let them hurt you. You're safe with me." The warmth of his hand made her chest tighten. No one had ever protected her before. Yet she knew protection came with risk. If humans feared her, they would turn their fear on Daniel too. That night when Daniel left, Elara remained in the shadows, staring at the stars. She whispered to herself, "Why does he care? Why does he risk?" Her glowing eyes reflected both hope and fear. For the first time since her home was lost, she believed she could belong somewhere again. But the world was watching now, and shadows of danger moved closer with each passing night. The trial of fear. The whispers grew louder with each passing day. In the marketplace, in the small tavern, and even in the quiet corners of the town, people spoke of the strange figure seen at night. They called her the Shadow Woman, or the ghost with shining eyes. Some swore they had seen her face, too pale, too sharp, too unnatural. Rumor soon turned to fear. Mothers warned their children not to walk alone after dark. Men sharpened sticks and carried lanterns when they traveled the road at night. Fear has a way of spreading faster than truth, and it poisoned every conversation. Daniel heard the talk. He kept silent, but inside his heart tightened. He knew who they were speaking of. Elara, the woman who had lost everything, the woman who had begun to smile again because of him. One evening, Daniel found Elara sitting in their usual place. She was tracing words from the children's book he had given her, sounding them out softly in her strange, melodic voice. For a moment, she looked almost human, just a lonely woman learning how to live again. But when Daniel told her of the rumors, her hands froze. The glow in her eyes dimmed. "They will come," she whispered. "They will not stop until they drive me away. That is what humans do." Daniel shook his head. "Not all humans." Her eyes lifted to his, filled with doubt and sadness. "Then why do they fear me? Why do they hate what they do not know?" He had no answer. Fear was an old enemy, older than reason itself. But he placed his hand gently over hers. "I'll stand with you, whatever happens." For a moment, silence surrounded them. Elara looked at his hand, then at his eyes. Something inside her softened, yet deep inside, a storm was rising. The storm broke only a week later. It was a cold night, and Daniel had just reached the road when he saw lights, torches burning in the dark. A group of townspeople was gathered, their faces hard, their voices angry. At their center, a man shouted, "She hides here, the creature with glowing eyes. We won't let a monster live among us." Daniel's chest burned with panic. He ran to where Elara waited in the shadows. She had already seen them. Her hood was pulled low, but her trembling hands gave away her fear. "Go," she whispered urgently. "If they find me, they will hurt you too." Daniel shook his head fiercely. "I won't leave you." The torches grew brighter as the group approached. Their voices rose louder, filled with fear that had turned into hate. "There she is," someone cried, pointing at the hooded figure. "The demon!" The crowd surged forward. Stones flew through the air, striking the ground near Elara's feet. She flinched, pulling her hood tighter. Her glowing eyes shone in the dark, and the crowd gasped. Fear turned to rage. Before they could rush closer, Daniel stepped in front of her. His arms spread wide, his voice strong. Stop, she is not a monster. The crowd hesitated. Daniel's voice carried a rare courage. She is not here to harm anyone. She has done nothing but survive. She's starving. She's alone. Would you attack someone for being different? But fear is stubborn. A woman shouted back, her kind will bring ruin. She doesn't belong here. Another man raised his stick. Move aside, Daniel, you're blinded. Alara's heart pounded as she looked at him. He was just one man standing against a storm of hatred. She whispered, they will kill you. Daniel turned slightly, his eyes meeting hers. Then let them try. I won't let them hurt you. His words struck the crowd like thunder. For a moment they faltered, torches flickered, murmurs rose, some uncertain, some still angry. The leader spat on the ground. If she stays, trouble will follow. Remember my words. With that, the group slowly pulled back, leaving the road heavy with smoke and tension. When the last torch disappeared into the distance, silence fell. Alara's body shook, not from fear but from something else. She looked at Daniel, her glowing eyes wet with tears. Why do you protect me? Why do you risk your life for me? Daniel's face was pale, but his voice steady. Because compassion is stronger than fear, and because you matter, Alara. Her heart ached with emotions she had almost forgotten, gratitude, hope, and something deeper that she dared not name. For the first time, she believed his words. But even as the night calmed, a shadow of warning remained. Fear had not been defeated, it had only stepped back. And Alara knew the trial of fear was far from over. The sacrifice, the warning in the leader's voice did not fade with time. Days later, the fear of the townspeople grew into action. Whispers turned into plans, and soon the plans became orders. Word reached the authorities in the nearby city. A strange creature. He lives among us. They did not care if the rumors were true or not. Fear was enough. One cold night, when the sky was heavy with clouds, men in uniforms arrived. They carried weapons, nets, and bright lamps. Their faces were hard, their voices sharp. The mission was simple. Capture the alien woman, remove the threat. Daniel heard the noise before Alara did, the heavy boots crushing the earth, the metallic click of rifles. His heart froze. He rushed to the old barn where Alara was hiding that evening. She was sitting on the floor practicing words from her children's book, whispering them softly like prayers. Alara, Daniel burst inside, his chest heaving. They're coming. Soldiers. You have to leave now. Her glowing eyes widened in terror. She stood quickly, her hands shaking. I told you, they would not stop. Daniel grabbed her arm gently but firmly. Listen to me. There's no time for fear. You need to run. I'll lead them away. She shook her head violently. No. If you stay, they will kill you. His eyes held hers, steady and fierce. If I don't, they'll kill you, and I won't let that happen. The sound of boots grew closer, lights flashed through the cracks of the barn walls, shadows moved outside. Alara's voice broke. Why, Daniel? Why do you risk everything for me? He placed his hands on her shoulders. His voice was low but filled with strength. Because compassion means more than survival. Because you're not nothing, Alara. You're someone, and you deserve to live. Tears burned in her glowing eyes. She wanted to beg him to run with her, but before she could speak, the doors of the barn slammed open. Soldiers stormed inside, their lamps flooding the darkness. There! The creature! One shouted. Alara froze like a trapped bird, but before they could move closer, Daniel stepped in front of her, arms wide. His voice thundered. She's not a monster! She's not a threat! The soldiers ignored him. One raised a net, another leveled his rifle. Move aside! The captain barked. Daniel did not move. His body was shaking, but his stance was unbroken. If you want her, you'll have to go through me. For a moment, the soldiers hesitated. They had not expected one of their own kind to stand against them, but orders were orders. The captain snarled, then so be it. The soldiers surged forward. Daniel pushed Alara toward the back door. Go, run! Her heart screamed in protest, but his eyes left no room for argument. She turned, her steps heavy, her breath sharp with panic. She could hear the struggle behind her. Boots thudding, voices shouting, the crash of wood as Daniel fought to hold them back. She ran into the night, her hood falling, her glowing eyes flashing in the dark. Behind her, the sounds grew louder. Then came a cry, Daniel's voice, pained but unbroken. Keep running, Alara! Her legs carried her across the fields, though her heart wanted to turn back. Every step tore her apart. She wanted to fight for him, to save him, but she knew what he had done. He had chosen to sacrifice himself so she could live. The soldiers finally broke through the barn and poured into the field, their lamps sweeping the darkness. But Alara was fast, her body fueled by fear and grief. She vanished into the woods, the shadows swallowing her whole. When the night grew silent again, she collapsed against a tree, gasping for breath. Her hands shook as she pressed them to her chest. Daniel's face filled her mind. The human who had given her food, kindness, hope, and now freedom. She whispered his name into the darkness, her voice breaking. Daniel. For the first time since her world had burned, she let herself weep without restraint. Each tear was heavy with loss, but also with something more. Love, gratitude, and a promise that she would carry his sacrifice forever. Above her, the clouds finally broke, and a single star shone through. She lifted her eyes to it, trembling. I will not forget. I will live, because you believed I should. The night was cruel, but his compassion had lit a fire inside her heart. And though Daniel's fate was uncertain, Alara knew one truth with unshakable clarity. He had given her more than survival. He had given her a reason to hope again.